Thanks, Neil. Yeah, just conscious we've got maybe 5 minutes. I'll just do a quick recap, kind of roundup. So I should say, I don't think I introduced myself at the start. So I'm Mark Gifford. I'm acting as interim VP at the moment. Brian O'Regan, who's the interim president of the UK chapter, he couldn't be here today. So just a few thoughts. Maybe Dave, Neil, I've written down like volume versus variety. So I just feel that, yeah, you've shown a lot of variety in terms of what's been done across the UK. Maybe just a question on potentially volume. You know, it feels like the variety's there. We've shown the application solutions. So I guess maybe the questions on, you know, what's holding back that kind of volume rollout. Second question, I think it's been a bit on the chat window, lakes and ponds. Maybe during the sort of COVID years, I got quite into sort of a bit of fly fishing. So as a sort of protector of, you know, the environment in terms of the fish species, I've got a few questions just around. I think, Dave, you're sort of saying that rivers can't really be exhausted from heat. But question would be maybe Darren's question that relates to is it possible that a kind of lake or pond can be, you know, to the point of stripped of too much heat or heated or cooled too much? Just that's a couple of questions I've got. I think finally back to the future. So I think both of you mentioned the past and the future. I'm a big back to the future sort of fan. So question would be if Doc and Marty McFly came along tomorrow, Dave, and said let's jump forward to 2050. The question I've got is, you know, what does that future look like in your eyes in terms of where are we at in 2050? Have we managed to increase the volume with the variety, or, you know, are we still stuck in the sort of policy paralysis?
Okay, maybe go in reverse. I think in 2050, nuclear fission will still be 30 years away from us because it's been that way all my adult life. So don't sit doing nothing, waiting for utopia, I think is the lesson. Not trying to be too facetious about it, but we've got to use what we've got. We're in the final generation of being able to doing something different and actually making an impact. So I think it was Churchill that said that perfection is the barrier of progress. There are hundreds of buildings, thousands of buildings across the UK being converted from burning gas to either individual heat pumps or onto networks that are supplied by heat pumps. So the question is, how do we do that faster? We know what to do. How do we do it faster? And I think when you do I call it the spreadsheet of life, what does it look like? And any heat pump will be the same, whether it's a small domestic heat pump or a large multi-megawatt or something in between. When you work out the life cycle cost of that, the single biggest number will be the electricity cost. And we can only do so much with our exploitation of the laws of physics, as Neil did such a good job of explaining. Ultimately, it comes down to the cost of electricity. And at the moment, we are making electricity in wind farms for 7.5 pence. And by the time it gets to the place that people want to use it, whether that's for their Christmas tree lights or their microwave ovens or whatever it might be, we're expecting people to pay 30+ pence. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that we need to change the cost of people's Christmas tree lights, but if the plan is to decarbonise and the route of doing that is heat pumps, it makes absolutely no sense to me to take a very simplistic way of calculating the price of electricity, which is essentially pegged versus the cost of burning gas. If a device is prepared to be flexible and malleable versus the supply of electricity, it should be rewarded for that. And so in my view, the fastest way of moving the heat pump market of any size would be to create a tariff for electricity for heat pumps that reflects their ability to A, decarbonise, and B, be flexible. And that will drive the market forwards far better than pockets of grant funding that, in some people's view, just push up the cost of the deployment. I'd rather see an unsubsidised capital market and a sensibly priced operational market. So that's my view on that. It's all about electricity.
Okay. I think finally, I think maybe Neil, you mentioned North America, what's going on there. I'm conscious that AEE is overall a sort of American organisation, so just wanted to give a wee shout to possibly if Cheyenne's on the line and AEE Central in Atlanta, and just sort of thanks to anyone from the Central team that got up early, you know, kind of quite early for the US. But any sort of final thoughts, Neil, just in terms of, you know, before we wrap up?
I would say the biggest thing holding it back is legislation and political will, along with the noise from the petrochem, hydrogen, and naysayers lobbies. In terms of, just to touch on North America quickly, they have quite different drivers in that a lot of North America has a cooling requirement, which is traditionally done by chillers. They're worrying about their grid falling over, but actually, if you ground couple it, as I said, you will decrease your electrical demand and therefore take the strain off the grid.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, Neil. I think, like I said at the start, this is sort of heat pump hub. We thought we'd call this session, and you know, clearly today we've seen that we've been really ambitious to try and squeeze so much content into an hour. So I think we'll definitely be back 3 to 4 weeks on a sort of heat pump hub part 2. But I do see this becoming almost a recurring series, or maybe part 3, 4, 5. I think you've raised a really good theme, Neil, of, you know, what's policy looking like possibly in other countries versus the UK. You know, what's the UK getting right? What's the UK getting wrong? I think there was a few sign-ups from Canada today as well, North America, maybe France. So yeah, I do see potentially as 2024 unfolds, it'd be great to have everyone back online again as we go through maybe the part 2 and potentially the part 3, 4, 5 series. But other than that, I'd just like to say a big thanks to everyone for coming on today. I think the session hopefully has been recorded on Zoom. So if you give us a bit of time to turn that around, we should be able to post the recording hopefully up on YouTube.
The Association of Energy Engineers, UK Chapter.